I should never have trusted that old Forest Service map. The kind you find in dusty ranger station drawers, photocopied so many times the trail markings blur into abstract suggestions. But I was desperate for the shot that would make my photography portfolio stand out. Every other photographer in my program was shooting the same overdone locations, the same overlooks, the same waterfalls, the same carefully composed wilderness that looked wild, but was really just a 10-minute walk from a parking lot. I wanted real isolation, real Appalachian winter, the kind of images that make people feel the cold through their screens. New Year's Eve 2019, I loaded my Subaru with cold weather gear and drove into the Blue Ridge backcountry. The map showed a cluster of abandoned cabins 8 miles off the nearest maintained road. Perfect. Snow-buried structures, no footprints, pure untouched wilderness under a winter sky. I'd get my shots and be back at the trailhead by dark. That was the plan. The Forest Service road deteriorated after the first 3 miles. Washouts and fallen trees. I pushed further than I should have, branches scraping paint from my doors, suspension bottoming out on frozen ruts. I told myself I was committed now. Too far in to turn back without the photographs. Pride. Stupidity. The same thing, really. I reached the end of the drivable road around 2 p.m. The temperature was dropping fast, clouds building over the ridgeline. I had maybe 4 hours of good light. I grabbed my camera bag and started hiking. The map showed the cabin cluster 2 miles northeast, following a defunct logging road. The first flakes started falling at 3:30, not gentle Christmas card snow, hard, wind-driven pellets that stung exposed skin, the kind of snow that erases trails in minutes. I pushed on. I could see the ridge where the cabins should be. Close. So close. I found the first cabin at 4:47 p.m. Collapsed roof, walls caving inward, completely unsuitable. The second was burned out, just a stone chimney and charred beams. The third was too buried in snow. But the fourth looked almost intact. That's when I saw the smoke. A thin gray curl rising from the chimney into the darkening sky. Impossible. These cabins had been abandoned since the 70s. No one should be up here. No one could drive up here. But smoke meant fire. Fire meant people. Or at least that's what I told myself. The storm intensified. Wind screaming through the trees, temperature plummeting, visibility dropping to maybe 20 feet. I tried my phone, no signal. I tried to backtrack to my car. The trail was already gone, buried under 6 inches of fresh snow. The wind chill had to be below 0. My fingers were going numb even inside my gloves. I made a choice. I headed for the cabin with the smoke. It took me 40 minutes to cover 300 yards. The wind fought every step. By the time I reached the cabin door, I couldn't feel my face. My camera bag felt like it weighed 100 pounds. I was hypothermic, I knew the signs. Shivering so hard I could barely stand. Fumbling coordination. The creeping warmth that meant my body was shutting down. I pounded on the door, no answer. I tried the handle, unlocked. The warmth hit me like a physical force. The cabin interior was impossibly warm, fire roaring in a stone fireplace, oil lamps burning on rough-hewn tables, and food. A bowl of stew on the table, steam rising, spoon beside it, like someone had just been eating, like they'd just stepped away. "Hello," my voice cracked. "I'm sorry to intrude. I got caught in the storm. Hello." Nothing, just the crackle of the fire and the howl of the wind outside. The cabin was small. One main room with the fireplace, a tiny bedroom alcove, a primitive kitchen area. No bathroom, no running water, authentically rustic. There was nowhere for someone to hide, but someone had been here. Recently, that stew was still hot. I should have left. Even hypothermic, some deep instinct screamed at me to get out, but I couldn't. The storm was a white wall beyond the windows. I'd die out there in minutes. I had to wait it out, had to warm up, had to survive. I sat at the table. I warmed my hands by the fire. The feeling came back to my fingers in painful stages, pins and needles, then burning, then finally normal sensation. I checked my phone. Still no signal, but the battery was dead anyway. 6:23 p.m. That's when I noticed the calendar on the wall. Hand-drawn, months carefully printed in fading ink. It was current. This year, days crossed off meticulously up through December 30th. Today was the 31st. Someone was living here. Someone was keeping track, but where were they? The stew smelled incredible. Rich and meaty, and I was so hungry, I'd skipped lunch. I told myself whoever lived here would understand. I'd leave money, I'd explain. I took a bite, then another. I ate half the bowl before my brain caught up to what I was doing, sitting in a stranger's cabin, eating their food while a blizzard raged outside. This was insane. That's when I heard it. Footsteps on the roof. Slow, deliberate. The crunch of snow compressed under weight. Something was walking on the roof. Back and forth, pacing, like it was trying to find a way in. I stood up, chair scraping. I grabbed a fire poker. "Who's there? I can hear you." The footsteps stopped. 5 seconds of silence broken only by the storm. Then they started again. Faster, moving toward the edge of the roof. Toward the front of the cabin, toward the door. I looked out the window. The snow was still coming down hard, but I could see the yard. I could see the tracks. Dozens of them, bare footprints in the snow, all different sizes, all converging on the cabin, all leading from different directions in the forest. Bare feet, in sub-zero temperatures, in a blizzard. My hands tightened on the fire poker. The footsteps moved to the back of the cabin now, then the side, then back to the front, circling, testing. Looking for weakness, more footsteps joined it, then more, at least 5 different gates on the roof now, maybe more. I backed toward the fireplace. I tried to think rationally. Animals. No animal walks upright on a roof. People. What people would be barefoot in this cold? My mind cycled through possibilities and rejected each one. The only truth was the sounds, the footsteps, the presence of multiple somethings circling the cabin, patient and methodical. Then the radio turned on. I spun toward it, an old battery-powered transistor radio on a shelf. I hadn't touched it. It crackled to life, dial glowing faint orange. Static. Then a voice. Clear, normal. A New Year's Eve countdown broadcast. "Just 30 minutes until midnight, folks. Hope you're somewhere warm with the people you love. We'll be counting down together when the time comes." I hadn't turned that radio on. The footsteps on the roof accelerated. Faster now. Excited. The sound of running feet overhead, and I couldn't track all of them anymore. Too many, all moving at once. I checked my watch. 11:29 p.m. I'd lost hours somehow. It was nearly midnight. The door handle started to turn, slowly. The old iron latch lifting. I'd locked it. I was sure I'd locked it, but it was opening from the outside. I lunged forward and threw my weight against the door. It slammed shut. I shot the deadbolt home. Something hit the other side. Hard, the whole frame shook. Then another impact. Another. They were throwing themselves at the door, the windows. I ran to check them. Faces pressed against the glass. Wrong faces. Skin stretched too tight. Eyes too wide. Mouths full of teeth that looked filed. They were smiling. All of them smiling as they stared at me. The radio. 10 minutes now, folks. 10 minutes until we say goodbye to this year and hello to the next. I grabbed my camera bag. Pulled out my spare flashlight, my knife, anything that could be a weapon. The pounding on the door intensified. Something was tearing at the wood. I could hear it splintering. The roof creaked ominously. They were pushing at the stones around the chimney. The fire was the only light now. The oil lamps had gone out, though I hadn't seen them extinguish. The shadows were wrong, too deep, moving independently of the flames. The radio. 5 minutes, everyone. 5 minutes until the new year. Make those resolutions count. The window glass cracked. A hand, if you could call it that, reached through. Fingers too long, nails like claws, scrabbling at the latch. I smashed it with the fire poker. Bones crunched. It withdrew, but 2 more replaced it. I was going to die here, in this cabin. Whatever these things were, they'd get in. They'd overwhelm me. I'd become another disappeared hiker. Another cold case. Mom would never know what happened. The radio. Countdown starting now. 10, 9, 8. The footsteps grew frantic. The door was giving way, the deadbolt tearing from rotten wood. The windows shattered inward. Cold air rushed in. 7, 6, 5. I made a decision, the only one I could. I grabbed a burning log from the fire. I kicked over the oil lamp. Fire spread across the old dry floor. I threw my camera bag out the broken window and dove through after it. 4, 3, 2. I hit the snow hard, rolled. The things were all around me. I saw them clearly for the first time. Human-shaped, but wrong, like people who'd forgotten how to be people. They moved toward me, coordinated, cutting off escape routes. 1, Happy New Year. I swung the burning log in a wide arc. They flinched back from the flames. I ran, not toward my car, I'd never make it, toward the densest part of the forest, toward darkness and trees and terrain they might not know. Behind me, the cabin erupted in flames. The fire climbed fast, feeding on decades of dry wood. The light illuminated the clearing, and I saw them in full. 20, maybe 30, all different ages. Some looked freshly feral. Others had been wild for years. They stared at the burning cabin like I'd destroyed something sacred. Then they looked at me, and they started running. I crashed through the forest, branches tearing at my face, snow filling my boots. I could hear them behind me. Not yelling, not screaming, just the steady rhythm of pursuit. They were hurting me. I realized it too late, driving me away from any escape route, deeper into the mountains, towards something, towards someone. I changed direction, broke through their line. One of them grabbed my jacket. I spun and slashed with my knife, connected with flesh. It fell back and I ran harder. I ran until my lungs were on fire, until my legs were numb, until dawn started to gray the sky. Somewhere in that run I lost them, or they gave up, or something called them back. I found a logging road at sunrise, followed it to a paved highway, flagged down a mail truck at 7:30 a.m. The fire department found the burned cabin. Accident, they said. Vagrant probably, knocked over a lantern. They didn't find any bodies. They didn't find footprints. 2 feet of fresh snow had covered everything. I tried to tell them what happened. They smiled politely. Hypothermia causes hallucinations, they said. I was lucky to be alive, they said. My camera survived. I developed the photos 3 weeks later when I could finally look at them. The cabin interior shots were there. The bowl of stew, the calendar. And in the background of one shot, barely visible in the shadowed bedroom alcove, a figure, watching me, smiling. I burned that photograph, but I remember it. I remember every detail. It's been 3 years. I don't go to the mountains anymore. I don't photograph wilderness. And every New Year's Eve, when everyone else is celebrating, I lock my doors and windows and wait for dawn. Because sometimes, when it's very quiet, I hear footsteps on my roof, and I know they're still looking for me. Sarah was screaming my name from the bathroom, and I was already running before I understood why. Her voice had that quality, the one that bypasses thought and triggers pure adrenaline. I burst through the door and found her backing away from the mirror, hands covering her mouth. Mark, look at them. They're not us anymore. I looked, our reflections stood in the mirror exactly where they should be. Sarah in her black sweater, me in my faded college hoodie. But Sarah's reflection wasn't moving with her. It was just standing there, watching and smiling. We weren't smiling. Neither of us was smiling. What the hell? I reached toward the mirror. My reflection didn't move its arm. It tilted its head slightly, like it was curious about what I'd do next. This wasn't why we'd come here. We'd rented this cabin to save our relationship. One night away from Charlotte, away from our silent apartment, away from the affair neither of us was supposed to know about. But we both did know. We'd been circling that knowledge for 3 months, each waiting for the other to confess or accuse. The tension was suffocating. The cabin listing promised historic charm, authentic Blue Ridge experience, romantic mountain getaway. The photos showed exposed beam ceilings, a stone fireplace, antique furniture, a place where we could talk, where we could fix what was broken, or at least acknowledge it. We'd arrived at 6 p.m. New Year's Eve. The cabin was beautiful, better than the photos. The owner had left champagne and chocolates with a note, "To new beginnings." The irony was painful. We'd unpacked in silence, made small talk about the drive, avoided eye contact. The weight of unsaid words filled every room. Finally, around 10 p.m., Sarah had gone to the bathroom to change. That's when it started. Now we stood frozen, staring at our reflections that stared back independently. "Maybe it's the light," I said. "Old mirrors sometimes." "Don't," Sarah's voice was sharp. "Don't rationalize this. Look at them, Mark, really look." I did. My reflection's eyes were wrong, too focused, too aware. It shifted its weight. I hadn't. It scratched its chin. My hand was at my side. Then it did something that emptied my stomach. It mouthed words. Silent, exaggerated, making sure I could read its lips. "One of you stays." Jesus Christ. I stepped back. "Did you see?" "Yes," Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Mine said it too. "One of you stays." We left the bathroom, rushed into the living room. There was a mirror above the fireplace. Our reflections stood in that one too, watching, both of them mouthing the same phrase in perfect synchronization. "One of you stays." "This isn't real," Sarah said. She was gripping my arm hard enough to bruise. "This isn't happening." I pulled out my phone. 11:17 p.m., full signal. I started to dial 911. "And say what?" Sarah asked. "Our reflections are threatening us." She was right, but we had to do something. I opened the front door. Locked. I turned the deadbolt. It wouldn't move. I pulled harder. The metal wouldn't budge like it was welded in place. "Back door," I said. Same thing. Locked solid. We tried every window. None would open. I grabbed a fireplace poker and swung at the living room window. The glass should have shattered. The poker bounced off like I'd hit rubber. Not even a crack. "We're trapped," Sarah said. "Why are we trapped?" I checked my phone again. 11:19 p.m. Then I noticed something. The signal bars were full, but when I tried to make a call, nothing happened. When I opened a browser, no connection. The phone showed perfect signal but was completely non-functional except for one thing: it displayed the time. And a countdown. 41 minutes until midnight. Every clock in the cabin showed the same countdown. The antique grandfather clock in the corner, the digital display on the kitchen microwave, even Sarah's watch, all synchronized. All counting down. The reflections in the bathroom mirror started moving. Not random movement, deliberate. They were doing something, acting something out. I grabbed Sarah's hand and we went back to watch. Our reflections were no longer in the bathroom. They were showing us somewhere else. A different room. The same cabin, but years ago. We could tell by the furniture, the decorations. Our reflections had become other people. A different couple. The man was tall, bearded. The woman had long, dark hair. They were arguing. We couldn't hear the words, but the body language was clear. Anger, betrayal, accusations. "What is this?" Sarah whispered. The scene in the mirror played out like a silent film. The couple's argument escalated. The woman pointed at the door. The man shook his head. She tried to leave. The door wouldn't open, just like ours. She pulled at it, panicked. He just stood there. Then he picked up something from the mantel, a small wooden box. He opened it and showed her something inside. Her face went white. The mirror reflection froze on her expression. Terror, absolute terror. Then the image shifted. Our reflections were back, us again, but still independent. They turned to face us directly. My reflection pointed at Sarah. Sarah's reflection pointed at me. Then both mouthed the same words. "One of you stays, choose." "Mark," Sarah's voice was shaking. "The couple in the mirror, do you think they—" "I don't know, but I did know. I knew exactly what had happened to them. I pulled her away from the bathroom. We needed to think, to figure this out. There had to be a rational explanation. A gas leak causing shared hallucinations. Some kind of sick prank with hidden screens and special effects. Something that wasn't supernatural. Something that made sense. But the locked doors made sense. The unbreakable windows made sense. The countdown made sense. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. This cabin wanted something, and it wanted it before midnight. "Tell me about the affair," Sarah said suddenly. "What?" "Your affair with Rachel, tell me about it." Her voice was flat, resigned. My stomach dropped. "How did you—" "I've known for 2 months. Tell me about it." The words came out in a rush. How it started, how it meant nothing, how I'd ended it, how I was so sorry. I expected anger. I got something worse. acceptance. Like she'd been expecting it. "My turn," she said. "His name is David. He's a colleague. It's been 5 months and I haven't ended it." We stood in the middle of the cabin while the clocks counted down. 32 minutes. Our relationship, our carefully constructed life, it had all been a lie. And now we were trapped in this place, being forced to confront it. "Why did you agree to come here?" I asked. "If you knew about Rachel, if you were still seeing David." "Because I love you," she said simply. "Or I did. I don't know anymore. I thought maybe we could fix it. I thought maybe if we talked." Her voice broke. "Why did you suggest this trip?" "Same reason. I love you. Or I'm afraid to lose you. I can't tell the difference anymore." The mirror above the fireplace flickered. The scene changed again, the same couple. The woman was crying. The man was holding the wooden box. He was speaking, pointing at her, then at himself, then at the door. She was shaking her head. "No, no, please no." He opened the box again, removed something small, put it in her hand. She looked at it, then looked at the door. It was open now. She could leave. She took one step toward it, stopped, looked back at him. He nodded, smiled sadly. She ran for the door, disappeared into the night. The man sat down in a chair by the fireplace, just sat, waiting. The clock in that mirror scene showed 12:01 a.m. He sat there as the clock moved forward. 12:02. 12:03. At 12:05 he started to fade, not disappear, fade, becoming translucent, becoming part of the cabin itself. The mirror went dark. Then our reflections returned. They weren't mouthing words anymore. They were pointing at the mantel. At a specific spot, I walked over, ran my hand along the wood, found a slight indentation, pressed it. A small panel popped open. Inside was a wooden box, exactly like the one in the mirror. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were 2 things, a yellowed newspaper clipping and 2 small metal tokens like coins but older, hand-forged. Sarah read the clipping over my shoulder. December 31st, 1999. Local man Gregory Chen reported missing after New Year's Eve. Wife Catherine Chen tells police he stayed behind at their cabin while she went for help. When she returned with authorities, Chen had vanished. No trace of him has ever been found. "He didn't vanish," I said quietly. "He stayed. One of them had to stay." "But why? What is this place?" I picked up one of the tokens. It was warm, unnaturally warm. The moment I touched it, I knew. Information flooded my mind, not words, just understanding. The cabin was built on something old, something that predated the Cherokee, a place where the boundary between here and somewhere else was thin. Once per year on New Year's Eve, it demanded balance. 2 people entered with broken trust, with betrayal between them. 2 people couldn't leave. One of them had to pay the price. Had to become part of the boundary, had to stay forever, but there was a choice. The tokens were the choice. Hold one, give one to the other person. At midnight, whoever held their token would stay. Whoever didn't would be free to leave. The door would open for them, only for them. "We have to choose," I said. "One of us stays, one of us goes free, that's the deal." "That's insane." "Look around, Sarah. We're past insane. This is real." The couple in the mirror, Gregory, chose to stay. He gave Catherine the token and let her go because he loved her more than she loved him, or because he was guilty and she wasn't. I don't know, but he made a choice. The clocks showed 15 minutes. Sarah stared at the 2 tokens in the box, then at me, then at the mirrors where our reflections watched with patient, ancient eyes. "We could both refuse," she said. "Maybe if neither of us takes them." "Then we both stay. Forever, I can feel it, that's the other option." Silence except for the ticking clocks. I thought about Rachel. About the affair that meant nothing. About how I destroyed Sarah's trust for something meaningless. About how she'd done the same with David. We'd broken each other. We'd broken us. "I'll stay," I said. "What?" "I'll take a token. You go free. This is my fault, the affair, suggesting this trip, all of it." Sarah laughed. It was a broken sound. "It's not your fault, it's both of our faults. We broke this together." "Then let me fix it." I reached for a token. She grabbed my hand. No, if anyone stays, it should be me. You have your family, your career, I have. Don't make this about worth. We're both equally screwed up. We both cheated, we both lied. 7 minutes. Maybe that's the point, Sarah said softly. Maybe the cabin doesn't care who stays. It just wants us to decide, to make a choice, to finally be honest about which one of us cares enough to sacrifice. She was right. This wasn't about punishment. It was about truth, about facing what we'd avoided all night, all 3 months. Which of us loved the other more? Which of us was willing to pay the price? I looked at Sarah, really looked at her for the first time in months. I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with 7 years ago, the woman who laughed at my terrible jokes, who held my hand during my father's funeral, who deserved better than what I'd given her. I love you, I said. I really do. And I'm so sorry. I love you too. She was crying. I'm sorry too. 3 minutes. We stood holding each other while the clocks counted down. In the mirrors, our reflections watched, waiting for our decision. At 1 minute, we pulled apart. Together, Sarah said. We'll choose together on 3. If you're going to pick up a token, pick it up. If you're not, don't. No discussion, no hesitation. We'll see who we really are. I nodded. My hand hovered over the box, so did hers. 1. I thought about staying, about fading into the cabin, about being part of the boundary forever. 2. I thought about Sarah walking out free, living her life, maybe finding happiness with David or someone else. 3. I grabbed a token. Sarah's hand was empty. She'd chosen to let me decide, to let me save her, or to let me prove I loved her more than she loved me. I don't know which. The grandfather clock struck midnight. The door unlocked with an audible click. Sarah ran for it, stopped at the threshold, looked back at me. I'm sorry, she said. It's okay, go please. She went, the door closed behind her. I stood alone in the cabin, holding the warm token. Already I could feel it starting. The fading, the becoming, my edges were getting soft. The cabin was pulling me in. In the mirror, my reflection smiled at me. Welcome, it seemed to say. Welcome to forever. The last thing I saw before I dissolved completely was Sarah through the window. She'd collapsed in the snow, sobbing, alive, free, and I was glad. I'm telling you this because you need to know. Because if you ever see a cabin in the Blue Ridge that's too quiet, where your voice sounds muffled and wrong, you need to run. Don't do what we did. Don't stay. Don't think you can handle it. You can't. My name is Emma Chen. I'm 22 years old. And I'm one of 2 survivors of what happened at the Riverside Resort Cabin on New Year's Eve 2021. The police reports say we were hallucinating. That we were high or drunk or suffering from some kind of shared psychotic break. But there were 5 of us. 5. And only 2 came out. Let me start at the beginning. We were college seniors, best friends since freshman orientation. Jake, Madison, Chloe, Tyler, and me. We had this tradition. Every New Year's Eve, we'd do something memorable together. Freshman year was a rooftop party. Sophomore year, a road trip to Florida. Junior year, camping in the Smokies. Senior year had to be special. Our last one before graduation scattered us across the country. Jake found the place on an urban exploration forum. Riverside Resort, built in 1982, abandoned in 1987. A cluster of luxury cabins in the Blue Ridge near Boone, all perfectly preserved. According to the forum, a bunch of guests just walked away mid-vacation. Left their clothes in the closets, food in the fridges, cars in the parking lot. Never came back. The resort went bankrupt trying to figure out what happened. Eventually, the land was seized for unpaid taxes, but no one ever bought it. Too remote. Too expensive to maintain. So it just sat there for 34 years, slowly being reclaimed by the forest. It'll be perfect, Jake said. We'll have New Year's Eve in an actual resort cabin. Champagne, fireworks, the whole thing. But like spooky, think about the photos. We should have researched more. Should have asked why an entire resort full of guests would just abandon their belongings. Should have wondered why no one bought the property in 3 decades despite prime Blue Ridge location. We hiked in on December 31st around 3 p.m. The main lodge was collapsed, but the guest cabins were intact. 14 of them arranged in a semicircle around a central fire pit. We picked the largest one, cabin 7. 3 bedrooms, full kitchen, stone fireplace, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the valley. And it was perfectly preserved, just like the forum said, clothes still hanging in closets, dishes in the sink, a half-finished jigsaw puzzle on the coffee table. A calendar on the wall stopped at December 29, 1987. Even the beds were made, pillows fluffed like housekeeping had just finished. "This is incredible," Madison breathed. She was already taking photos for her Instagram. We spent the next few hours exploring, found cases of champagne in the basement, board games in pristine condition, a record player with actual vinyl. We hauled it all to cabin 7. Jake built a fire. Chloe and Tyler strung up battery-powered fairy lights we'd brought. By 8 p.m., the place looked almost magical, like we'd stepped back in time to a resort in its heyday. The silence started around 8:30. Tyler noticed it first. "Is anyone else's ears feeling weird?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "Like pressure, like when you're on a plane." I paid attention. He was right. There was a strange pressure in my ears, and the ambient sound was wrong. The fire should have been crackling. It wasn't. It burned silently. The wind outside should have been audible. Nothing. "Maybe the cabin's just really well insulated," Jake suggested. But it got worse. By 9 p.m., our voices sounded muffled, like we were talking through blankets. By 9:30, we had to raise our voices to hear each other across the room. By 10 p.m., Madison's laughter made no sound at all. We just saw her face, her shoulders shaking, but heard nothing. That's when the panic set in. Tyler ran to the door, pulled it open. The fog had rolled in. Thick, unnatural, gray soup that didn't move like normal fog. It pressed against the doorframe like something solid, like it was trying to push inside. Tyler stepped out onto the porch, turned back to say something. His mouth moved. No sound. He looked confused, scared. He came back in and the pressure in my ears intensified. I pulled out my phone, tried to type a message in our group chat. The phone worked, but when I held it up to show the others, the text was gibberish. Random letters, like the cabin was scrambling even written communication. Chloe grabbed a notepad from the kitchen, wrote, "We need to leave now." We all nodded. We gathered our things quickly. But when Jake opened the door again, the fog was worse. Thicker and darker. It wasn't gray anymore. It was moving, swirling, with shapes inside it, human-shaped, watching us. Madison pointed at the window, more shapes in the fog, dozens of them surrounding the cabin, just standing there, perfectly still. Tyler was at the door gesturing frantically, his mouth moving. He was yelling, we could tell by his face, but no sound reached us. He grabbed Jake's shoulder, pointed at the fog, at something we couldn't see. His expression shifted from fear to horror. Then he ran, just bolted out the door into the fog. We saw him for maybe 3 seconds, his silhouette disappearing into the gray, and then he was gone. Jake started after him. Madison grabbed his arm, shook her head violently. "No, don't. We waited. 5 minutes. 10. Tyler didn't come back. Jake tried to yell his name. We couldn't hear Jake's voice. We couldn't hear anything. The cabin had eaten all sound completely now. We existed in perfect, absolute silence. That's when I realized I couldn't hear my heartbeat anymore. I pressed my hand to my chest. I could feel it beating. But there was no sound, no pulse in my ears, no rushing of blood, nothing. The silence did something to your brain. Without sound, you lost track of time, lost track of spatial awareness. The cabin felt bigger inside. The hallways stretched longer. The rooms multiplied. I walked to the bathroom and found 3 bathrooms, 3 of them identical in a hallway that should have led to one. I turned back. The living room was gone, just more hallways, more doors. I opened one. It led to the living room, but it was different. The fire was out, the fairy lights were gone, and my friends weren't there. Different people sat on the couch, a family, parents and 2 kids. They were playing cards. They didn't see me. They were silent too. Frozen mid-game, I backed out, tried another door, the living room again, but now it was empty except for Tyler. He sat in a chair by the dead fireplace, staring at nothing. His eyes were empty, glassy. I ran to him, grabbed his shoulder. He didn't respond. didn't even blink. He was breathing, but he was gone. Whatever made Tyler had been eaten by the silence. I ran, through doors that led to rooms that shouldn't exist. I found Chloe in one. She was standing in a bedroom, staring at her hands. When she saw me, she opened her mouth. No sound. But I could read her lips. I can't remember my voice. That's what the cabin was doing. It wasn't just eating sound. It was eating memory of sound, of communication. It was isolating us from each other, from ourselves. I grabbed Chloe's hand, pulled her with me. We found a door that led back to the main living room. Jake and Madison were there. They looked relieved to see us. Jake's phone was out. He'd been trying to type something, trying to coordinate, but the words scrambled themselves. Without communication, we couldn't plan, couldn't share information. Each of us existed in our own silent bubble. We could see each other, but we were alone. Madison pointed at her watch. 11:43 p.m., 17 minutes until midnight. Jake gestured toward the door. We need to leave. Now, together. No matter what's in the fog, we couldn't stay here. The cabin was taking us apart. We had to risk the fog. We held hands, a chain, Jake at the front, then Madison, me, Chloe. We approached the door. Jake pulled it open. The fog had changed. It was inside now, creeping across the floor like a living thing. The human shapes were at the threshold, dozens of them. They looked like people but worn down, faded, like old photographs. They stared at us with hollow eyes. Jake stepped toward them. They parted. Let him through. Let Madison through. Let me through. But when Chloe crossed the threshold, they closed ranks. She was on the other side of them suddenly, separated from us. She was screaming. I could see her face, but we couldn't hear her, and she couldn't reach us. Fog things held her back. Madison started back toward her. Jake grabbed her. No, we can't help her. We have to go. The look on Madison's face, pure anguish. She and Chloe had been roommates for 4 years, best friends, sisters, and Jake was making her leave Chloe behind. We ran into the fog. The shapes didn't follow. They just watched. I looked back once. Chloe was still at the door, pounding on invisible barrier, mouth open in a silent scream. Then the fog swallowed her. We ran blind. No sense of direction, no way to communicate. Jake's hand in mine was the only real thing. We crashed through underbrush, tripped over logs. The fog pressed close, thick enough to choke on. Then Jake stopped. He was looking at something ahead. A light, faint, orange, flickering. We moved toward it. It was another cabin. Cabin 12. Lights on fire burning, and inside people, a family. The same family I'd seen in that impossible room. They were celebrating, playing games, laughing. We could see their mouths moving, but no sound. Jake pounded on the window. They didn't react, didn't see us. They were in their own time, their own moment, trapped in it forever. That's when I understood. Everyone who came to Riverside Resort was still here. Still frozen in their last moments before the silence took them completely. The guests from 1987, Tyler, Chloe, all of them trapped in loops, in rooms, in memories without sound. The cabin was a collection of silent moments, endlessly repeating. Madison collapsed, just sat down in the snow and wouldn't move. Jake and I tried to pull her up. She shook us off. Her face was slack, empty, like Tyler's had been. The silence was taking her too, taking the part that made her her. Jake and I ran. We left her there. We had no choice. We ran until my lungs burned, until my legs gave out, until dawn started to gray the sky. We found a highway at 6:47 a.m., flagged down a logging truck. The driver called the police. When they asked us what happened, our voices were hoarse and strange. We'd forgotten how to modulate sound, how to speak normally. It took 3 days before we sounded human again. Search and rescue found Riverside Resort, found the cabins. They were abandoned, decaying. No signs of recent habitation, no Tyler, no Chloe, no Madison. The police said we must have been somewhere else. We were confused, traumatized. But I know what I saw. I know where we were. And sometimes on very quiet nights I lose my voice again, just for a few minutes. Just long enough to remember the silence, to remember Chloe's face as we left her. Jake doesn't talk about it. He moved to Seattle, changed his major, started seeing a therapist. We don't keep in touch. We can't. Every time we talk, we remember. So I'm telling you, if you find Riverside Resort, if you find any cabin that's too quiet, where sound doesn't work right, leave. Don't investigate, don't stay, don't think you're smarter than it, because the silence is still there, still hungry, still collecting moments and people and voices. And I think it's spreading. Last week I was in a coffee shop. For just a few seconds, everyone went silent. Not quiet, silent. People's mouths moved, but no sound came out. Then it snapped back. Normal, loud, but I saw their faces. Everyone felt it, that moment of stolen sound. It's getting closer to the cities, to the populated areas. The cabin isn't just a place anymore. It's becoming something else, something bigger. So please be careful. Listen to your environment. And if the sound ever goes wrong, run. Run and don't look back. You ever seen a fire that burns cold? That's what I asked the ranger who finally found me 3 days later. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had, probably I had. But I know what I experienced in that stone cabin near Roan Mountain. I know what the fire showed me. And I know why I can't get warm anymore, even in July, even in direct sunlight. My name is David Corman. I'm 38 years old. Retired military, 20 years service, honorably discharged. I'm a survival instructor now. I teach wilderness medicine, cold weather operations, survival psychology. I've spent more nights in the backcountry than most people spend in their beds. I know the mountains. I know how to read weather, how to build shelter, how to stay alive when everything goes wrong. I'm telling you this so you understand. I'm not some weekend hiker who got scared by shadows. I'm trained, experienced, rational. And what happened to me in that cabin was real. New Year's Eve 2018, I was hiking a section of the Appalachian Trail near Roan Mountain. Solo trip. I prefer solo. Just me and the mountain in silence. The weather report called for clear and cold. But mountain weather is unpredictable. Around 4 p.m., an ice storm rolled in 2 days early. The kind that turns trails to skating rinks in minutes. The kind that drops wind chill to lethal levels. I needed shelter fast. I knew there was a stone cabin about 2 miles off trail. Hikers used it sometimes. It was crude. No windows, no door, just 4 stone walls and a roof, but it would break the wind. I could ride out the storm there and continue in the morning. I reached it around 5:30 p.m. The light was failing, temperature plummeting, ice accumulating on everything. And the cabin had a fire burning. That should have been warning enough. But I was cold, exhausted, not thinking clearly. I pushed through the doorway and felt the warmth, blessed warmth. There was a fireplace carved into the stone wall and a fire burned in it. Orange flames, crackling wood, the whole setup. I called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" No answer. The cabin was single room, maybe 15 by 15 feet, nowhere to hide. But someone had been there, recently. The fire was too fresh, too hot. Someone had built it within the last hour. I should have left. Should have found different shelter. But the ice storm was intensifying outside, and I was showing early signs of hypothermia. Shivering, clumsy fingers, sluggish thinking, I made a command decision. I'd use the fire, warm up, and deal with whoever built it when they returned. I dropped my pack and moved close to the flames. Extended my hands toward the warmth. That's when I realized something was wrong. The heat wasn't reaching me. I could see the fire, could hear it crackling, but no warmth touched my skin. I moved closer. Close enough that I should have felt uncomfortable. Nothing. I held my hand directly over the flames. They licked around my fingers. No heat, no pain, nothing. What the hell? I pulled back and examined my hand. No burns, no marks. I touched my face. My skin was still ice cold. The fire wasn't warming the cabin at all. The air temperature was the same as outside. Below freezing, I could see my breath. But the fire burned, bright and high and consuming wood. I could see the logs blackening, could smell smoke, but it was cold. The fire was cold. I'm a rational person, trained to assess situations logically. I ran through possibilities, hypothermia, hallucination. No, I could think clearly enough to diagnose hypothermia, gas leak. No gas in a stone cabin in the middle of nowhere. Some kind of chemical fire that burns cold. No such thing. I circled the fireplace. The flames didn't cast shadows correctly. In fact, they didn't cast shadows at all. The light illuminated the room, but objects didn't create darkness where they blocked the light. The fire was producing light and consuming wood, but not following any physical laws. I added wood to the fire. Fresh logs from a stack beside the fireplace. They caught immediately. The flames grew larger, brighter. The cabin got colder, noticeably colder. Ice began forming on the inside of the stone walls. I stopped adding wood, backed away. Something was very wrong. This wasn't natural, wasn't possible, but it was happening. The temperature continued to drop. My survival training kicked in. I needed actual warmth. I pulled my sleeping bag from my pack, rated to degrees F. I climbed inside, still wearing all my layers. The cold was bone deep now, painful. The fire burned higher. I hadn't added more wood, but it grew anyway. The flames reached nearly to the ceiling. The light was blinding. The cold was arctic. I could feel ice forming in my nostrils. My breath came in shallow gasps. Then I realized the wood wasn't burning. It was there in the fire, being consumed by flames, but it wasn't getting smaller. The same 3 logs I'd added were still there, still whole, still burning. The fire was feeding on them endlessly, impossibly. I tried to think, to understand. Fires need fuel, need oxygen, need heat. This fire had fuel that didn't diminish. It produced light but not heat. It burned but didn't consume. It was wrong on every fundamental level. My watch said 10:47 p.m. The ice storm raged outside. I was trapped with an impossible fire in a freezing cabin, and I was running out of time. Hypothermia was taking me. I could feel it. The shivering had stopped. That was bad. That meant stage 2. Soon I'd become confused. Irrational. I'd start feeling warm, I'd undress, and I'd die. I had to put out the fire, had to try something different. Maybe if the fire wasn't burning, the temperature would stabilize. I grabbed my water bottle. The water was nearly frozen, slushy. I threw it at the flames. The water evaporated before it reached the fire, just vanished in midair, turned to steam. But how? How could a cold fire evaporate water? I tried smothering it. Shoveled snow from outside onto the flames. The snow melted instantly, but the fire kept burning. Bright, cold, impossible. I pulled chemical heat packs from my survival kit, activated them. They should have generated 130 degrees F for 8 hours. I felt nothing. They were warm, I could see the steam rising from them, but they provided no warmth to my skin. The cabin was nullifying all heat, not just the fire, everything. 11:38 p.m. My thinking was getting fuzzy. I was going to die here, freeze to death next to a burning fire. The irony would have been funny if I wasn't so terrified. That's when I started seeing things in the flames, not hallucinations, images, clear, deliberate. The fire was showing me something. I saw the mountain, Roan Mountain. But not now, long ago, thousands of years ago, before the Cherokee, before humans. The mountain was young then, raw, and something lived beneath it, something old, something massive. The image shifted. I saw people, not Native Americans, older, different. They'd built the stone cabin, not as shelter. As a prison, they'd trapped something in the fire, something that burned cold because it came from somewhere cold, somewhere without light or heat or life. The fire was a doorway, and the thing on the other side was hungry. It had been hungry for millennia, feeding on the warmth of anything that came close. That's why the fire burned cold. It was pulling heat from this world to somewhere else, to feed something that had been starving since the earth cooled. I understood then. The cabin was a feeding ground. The fire was bait. Anything that sought its warmth would have that warmth stolen, drained, fed to the hunger beneath the mountain. The images in the fire intensified. I saw other people, other travelers who'd sheltered here over the centuries. I saw them freeze. Saw their warmth pulled out like silk thread. Saw them become cold things, empty things, ice-wearing human shapes. And then I saw myself, standing in the cabin, but I was different, blue, frost-covered. My eyes were white, no pupils, just ice, and I was smiling. The cold thing that looked like me was smiling. No, my voice was barely a whisper. No, I'm not staying. I forced myself to move. Every muscle screamed. I was stage 3 hypothermic now, critical, minutes from death. But I crawled toward my pack, pulled out my last option, emergency flare. The fire showed me more images. It wanted me to watch, to understand, to give up, to accept the cold. It would be peaceful, the images promised. No more pain, just cold, just quiet, just feeding the ancient hunger forever. I lit the flame. Brilliant red light filled the cabin. I held it close to my body. It generated 200 degrees F. Surely that would. Nothing, no warmth. The fire was taking it all, drinking the heat from the flare like a black hole drinks light. But the red light disrupted something. The images in the fireplace flickered, screamed, not sound, pressure. The stones of the cabin vibrated. The cold fire flared brighter, angry now, defensive. I crawled toward the door. I had to get out. Even if the ice storm killed me, I had to get away from the fire, from the cabin, from the hunger. The fire spread. Impossibly, it left the fireplace. Cold flames rolled across the floor toward me, trying to stop me, trying to keep me. I swung the flare at them. They recoiled. Just for a second, just long enough. I threw myself through the doorway into the ice storm. The wind hit me like a fist. The cold, the real cold, the natural cold, felt almost warm after the cabin. I crawled away. 10 feet, 20, 50. Behind me, the cabin's stones began to glow, bright white. The cold fire was consuming the structure, furious at my escape. The glow intensified until I had to look away. Then it vanished. The cabin was gone, just empty space where it had stood. I don't remember the next 3 days clearly. I know I built a shelter. No, I survived the storm. No, I walked until I reached a trail, until a ranger found me. They said I had severe frostbite, lost 2 toes, part of my left ear, but I lived. Except I didn't, not really, not all of me. The cold stayed with me. Every day since, I've been cold. I wear layers in summer, run space heaters year-round. My body temperature is 94, 3 degrees F, clinically hypothermic but stable. The doctors can't explain it. I can. The fire took something from me, some essential warmth, some core heat that makes a person alive. It's still feeding, even now, even across the miles. That thing beneath Roan Mountain is still drinking my warmth. Slow, patient, endless. I'm dying, freezing from the inside out. The doctors give me 5 years, maybe less. My core temperature drops 0.1 degrees every few months. When it reaches 90, my organs will fail. When it reaches 85, I'll slip into a coma. When it reaches 80, I'll die and become like the others. The cold things, the ice wearing human shapes, the food that feeds the hunger. So I'm telling you, if you find a stone cabin with a fire burning, if you see flames that don't cast shadows right, if you feel cold despite the blaze, run, don't stay, don't try to understand it, just run, and pray it doesn't follow you home. The cabin stood alone at the end of a washed-out road, 3 stories of Victorian decay against a crystalline New Year's Eve sky. My camera captured it perfectly through the viewfinder, the boarded windows, the sagging wraparound porch, the rusted iron fence surrounding it, the historical marker half buried in kudzu at the property line. I was 26 years old, running a YouTube channel called Lost Appalachia. Urban exploration, abandoned places, historical decay. 38,000 subscribers and climbing. My audience wanted New Year's Eve content, something special, something that would get shared and liked and push my channel toward that magic 50K subscriber mark where sponsorships became possible. I'd given them abandoned malls, closed theme parks, forgotten train stations. But this was different. Real history, real tragedy. The Riverside Sanatorium, built 1908, closed 1924. Following incident, according to the historical marker, I did research before I came, what I could find anyway. The sanatorium treated tuberculosis patients. Back then, before antibiotics, the only treatment was fresh mountain air and rest. Rich people came to places like this to either recover or die comfortable. Riverside had catered to the wealthy. Private rooms, personal nurses, fine dining despite the illness ravaging its guests. It closed suddenly in January 1924. The historical record was vague. Following incident appeared in multiple documents but no details, no explanation. The property was seized for unpaid taxes in 1927. It had been abandoned ever since. 94 years of decay. I'd explored older. I'd explored more dangerous. But standing at that rusted gate at 6:47 p.m. on New Year's Eve, something felt different. The building watched me. That's the only way I can describe it, like it had been waiting. Hey guys, welcome back to Lost Appalachia. Tonight, New Year's Eve, I'm at the Riverside Sanatorium. 3 stories of Victorian architecture, closed since 1924 following an incident the historical record won't specify. Let's find out why. I started recording, documented pushing through the rusted gate, the overgrown path, the porch steps that creaked but held, the front door half off its hinges opening into a grand foyer. The interior was surprisingly intact. Dust and decay, yes, but the structure was sound. A wide staircase curved up to the second floor. Doorways opened into what had been a dining room, a sitting room, a library. Most of the furniture was gone, but outlines remained in the dust. This had been a luxurious place once. My camera light illuminated wallpaper peeling in long strips. Water damage stained the ceiling, but no graffiti, no evidence of other urban explorers. The place was untouched. That was rare. Usually, locations this close to Asheville were covered in spray paint and beer cans. I started my systematic exploration. First floor first. Always work bottom to top, establish exit routes, identify hazards. The building had good bones despite the decay. The floors were solid. The stairs looked stable. 3 stories. I'd clear each one, document each room, be out by 10 p.m. The first floor took 90 minutes to document. Kitchen with rusted medical equipment. Office with rotted files. What must have been a treatment room, windows still intact, facing the mountain view. Patients would have rested here, breathing the cold air, watching the seasons change, either getting better or getting worse. I climbed to the second floor at 8:47 p.m. My camera captured dust motes in the light beam. The second floor was darker. Most of the windows were boarded from the outside. My flashlight carved narrow paths through the blackness. The hallway ran the length of the building, rooms on both sides. 20 of them I counted. Private patient rooms. I documented each one, mostly empty. A few had beds, metal frames rusted and collapsed. One had a wheelchair. Another had what looked like a child's toy, a wooden horse on springs. That's when I heard the footsteps. On the third floor, directly above me, creak, step, steady, rhythmic, pacing like someone walking back and forth, back and forth. I froze, pointed my camera at the ceiling. Did you guys hear that? I whispered to my camera. Footsteps, third floor. I called out. Hello, is someone up there? I'm just documenting the building. I don't mean any trouble. The footsteps stopped. 5 seconds of silence. Then they started again. Same rhythm, same pace. Creak, step, not rats, not wind, not settling. I knew those sounds. These were deliberate. These were footsteps. Someone was on the third floor, squatters probably, or another urban explorer. Maybe they'd seen my camera light and were trying to scare me. It wouldn't be the first time. I'm coming up, I called. Just want to make sure we're not in each other's way. The footsteps continued. I moved to the staircase leading to the third floor, narrower than the main stairs. Steeper, staff stairs probably. The workers wouldn't have used the grand staircase. I started climbing. My camera light bobbed with each step. The footsteps continued above me, always directly above me. Like whoever was up there was tracking my position. I reached the third floor at 9:14 p.m. The layout was similar to the second floor. Long hallway, rooms on both sides, but darker. More of the windows were boarded, and the air felt different, thicker, colder. Like the temperature had dropped 20 degrees in the space of one staircase. The footsteps were at the far end of the hall. I could hear them clearly now. Creak, step, turning, pacing, confined to one small area. Hello, my voice sounded small. The building absorbed it. I can hear you. I'm not here to cause problems. The footsteps stopped. I waited. 20 seconds. 30. Then they started again, moving now, not pacing, walking down the hallway toward me. Creak, step. I should have run, but I was curious. Stupid. I was thinking about the footage, about the reveal, about viewer reactions. I pointed my camera down the hallway, adjusted the exposure, waited to see who would emerge from the darkness. The footsteps got closer. I could see dust falling from the ceiling with each step, could see the floorboards flexing slightly. Something with weight was walking toward me, something real. The footsteps reached the point where my light should have illuminated whatever was making them, but there was nothing. Empty hallway, dust motes swirling, and the footsteps right in front of me, creak, step, creak, step. Then they stopped, directly in front of me, maybe 5 feet away. I could hear breathing, shallow, labored, the rasp of damaged lungs. My camera captured my hands shaking, captured my breath coming fast. Okay, I don't know what this is. The breathing continued, close enough that I should feel it, but I felt nothing, just the cold. Then the footsteps moved again, past me, around me, circling. I spun, trying to follow the sound. They were toying with me, playing with me. The footsteps moved back down the hallway, back to the far end. Back to pacing, creak, step, creak, step. Every rational part of my brain screamed to leave, but I'd come for content, for the story, and this was it. This was the incident, I could feel it. Something happened on this floor, in that room where the footsteps paced, and I had to see it. I started walking down the hallway, toward the footsteps. My camera light swept across doorways. Most of the rooms were empty, but one room 304 had something in it. A bed, still made, clean white sheets despite decades of dust everywhere else, and restraints. Leather restraints attached to the bed frame. The footsteps were coming from that room. Creak, step, creak. Step, confined to that small space. Pacing between the bed and the window, I stepped inside. My camera captured it all, the bed, the restraints, the window with a clear view of the mountains, and scratches on the floor, deep gouges in the wood like someone had paced this exact path so many times they'd worn grooves. This was a patient room, I said to my camera. Someone was restrained here, someone who paced, someone who wore a path in the floor. The footsteps stopped, the breathing intensified, raspy, wet, tubercular. Then I saw him, not clearly, just an outline, a shape formed of dust and shadow and cold air. Thin, emaciated, hospital gown hanging from skeletal frame. He stood by the window, staring out at the mountains. My camera didn't pick him up. I checked the viewfinder. Nothing there, but I could see him, clear as day. He turned to look at me. His face was hollow, eyes sunken, cheeks collapsed, the face of someone who died slowly, painfully, and he was reaching toward me, imploring, desperate. Then more appeared in the hallway, in the other rooms, dozens of them, all thin, all dying, all reaching, all desperate. The sanatorium was showing me its patients. The ones who never left. The ones who died here and somehow stayed. 10:47 p.m. My watch alarm went off. Time to leave, past time to leave. But the patients were between me and the stairs. They weren't threatening, just reaching, wanting something, needing something. I backed toward the window. The shapes followed. More kept appearing. The hallway was full of them now, 50, 100, too many. All of them tubercular, all of them dying, all of them trapped. Then I understood. The incident. January 1924. I pulled out my phone, searched for historical records, found a newspaper mention. Fire at Riverside Sanatorium claims 47 lives. Patients trapped on 3rd floor, unable to escape due to locked doors and restraints. Staff evacuated safely. They died up here, locked in, restrained, screaming for help that never came, and they were still here, still trapped, still pacing, still reaching, still begging for the freedom they never got. The footsteps multiplied. Every patient was pacing now. The whole floor creaked and groaned with phantom movement. The sound was overwhelming. Dozens of pairs of feet, all walking, all searching, all trapped. I had to get out. They weren't malevolent, but they were confused, lost. They didn't understand they were dead. They kept trying to escape, kept trying to leave, but couldn't figure out how. And now they saw me. Living, free, able to open doors, able to walk away. And they wanted that, needed that. They pressed closer, not touching, but surrounding, desperate, pleading. I ran, pushed through the shapes. They felt like cold air, like cobwebs, insubstantial. But the emotions hit me like physical blows. Desperation. Fear. Betrayal, pain, so much pain. I reached the staircase. The footsteps followed, all of them. 100 pairs of feet thundering behind me, chasing, not to hurt, to follow, to escape. They saw me leaving and thought maybe, finally, they could too. I took the stairs 3 at a time. The sounds behind me intensified. Footsteps, breathing, coughing, the wet, rattling cough of dying lungs. They were right behind me, a crowd of desperate ghosts who'd been trapped for 94 years. I hit the 2nd floor, kept running, 1st floor. The grand foyer, the door, I could see it, 20 feet away. 15, 10. The footsteps stopped. All at once, I looked back. They were there. At the base of the stairs, all of them, staring at the door, wanting so badly to cross that threshold. To leave. To be free, but they couldn't. Something held them. The building itself. The manner of their death. I don't know. They could only watch as I reached the door. As I escaped. The last thing I saw was the patient from room 304. The one who'd paced until he wore grooves in the floor. He raised one skeletal hand. Not threatening, just waving, goodbye, or maybe good luck, or maybe take our story with you. I ran to my car. Didn't stop running until I was 5 miles down the mountain. Didn't stop shaking until I was back in Asheville. Didn't sleep for 3 days. I uploaded the footage. It went viral. 2 million views in the first week. The audio captured the footsteps clearly, captured the breathing. Captured the sounds of 100 dying people trapped forever in their final moments. But the video captured nothing. Just me running through an empty building, looking at things that weren't there, talking to shadows. People thought it was fake, staged, but I know what I experienced. I know what I saw. Those patients are still there, still trapped, still pacing, still waiting for someone to free them. And every New Year's Eve, I hear the footsteps in my apartment, on the floor above, in the walls, following me, reminding me that some prisons last forever. Granny told me never to be at the high cabin on New Year's Eve. Never. Not for any reason. She said the mountain breathes different that night. Said it remembers things it shouldn't. Said it calls names it has no right knowing. I should have listened. But I'm 45 years old, and I stopped believing in mountain superstitions when I went to college 25 years ago. The cabin's been in our family since 1847. My great-great-great-grandfather built it with his own hands from chestnut trees that don't exist anymore. Every generation maintained it, improved it. We spent summers there when I was a kid. My cousins and I running wild in the woods, Granny cooking on the wood stove, Granddad teaching us to fish. Good memories, pure memories. The cabin was part of our family's soul. Granny died that October, pancreatic cancer, fast and brutal. She was gone 3 weeks after diagnosis. At the funeral, my mother pulled me aside. "Don't go to the high cabin on New Year's Eve. Promise me. Granny made me promise when I was your age. Now I'm making you promise." "Mom, that's just superstition." "Promise me, Thomas." I promised, but I was grieving, angry, lost. And the cabin was the place I felt closest to Granny. It was just wood and stone and memories. Nothing supernatural, nothing dangerous, just a place. A good place. Going there on New Year's Eve felt like honoring her memory. Felt like saying goodbye properly. I drove up 2 days after Christmas. Took 3 days to hike the 14 miles to the cabin. It's at elevation, highest you can get by trail in that part of the Blue Ridge. The road only goes so far. After that, it's just footpath. I brought supplies for a week. Enough time to be alone with my grief, to process, to heal. The cabin was exactly as I remembered. One main room with a stone fireplace, 2 small bedrooms, a loft, a spring out back for water, no electricity, no phone service, true isolation. I cleaned the place out, swept away the leaves that had blown in. Got the fireplace going, settled in. I spent 4 days there before New Year's Eve, just reading, thinking, grieving. It was peaceful. The mountain was quiet. Snow fell occasionally. I watched deer pass by the windows. At night, I sat by the fire and thought about Granny, about all the stories she told, about her warnings. "The mountain is older than people, Tommy," she'd said when I was 8. "Older than the Cherokee who were here before the white folks, older than whatever came before them, and old things remember, old things want." Want what Granny? Depends on the thing. Some want worship. Some want sacrifice. Some just want company. This mountain, it wants names. I'd asked what that meant. She wouldn't explain, just made me promise never to be at the high cabin on New Year's Eve. I'd forgotten that promise by the time I was 12. New Year's Eve arrived cold and clear. I woke at dawn and felt the difference immediately. The silence was wrong, not peaceful quiet, wrong quiet, watching quiet. I stepped outside. The sky was wrong too. Clear blue, no clouds, but the light had a quality I couldn't identify, too sharp, too bright. The shadows fell at angles that didn't match the sun's position. I checked my watch. The second hand was moving backward, just for 3 seconds. Then it corrected itself and moved forward normally. I shook my head. Battery dying, that's all. But the day continued strange. The deer didn't appear. No birds, no squirrels. No insect sounds despite the relatively warm temperature, 48 degrees, unseasonably warm for the elevation. The forest was empty, like every living thing had fled. The stillness intensified as afternoon approached. No wind, not even a breeze. The air was perfectly motionless. I could light a candle outside and the flame wouldn't flicker. I tried it. The flame stood perfectly straight, unmoving. Unnatural. I started to feel uneasy. Maybe I should hike out. It was 2 p.m. If I left now, I could make it to the trailhead before full dark, sleep in my truck, come back tomorrow when whatever this was had passed. But that felt like running, like letting superstition win. I was a rational person, an engineer. I believed in physics and chemistry and evidence. Not mountain spirits, not old things that want names. I stayed. Dusk came at 5:47 p.m. The light didn't fade gradually, it just stopped, like someone flipped a switch. 1 second, late afternoon sun. The next, deep twilight. The stars appeared, wrong stars. Constellations I didn't recognize. I know the night sky. I've navigated by stars in the mountains dozens of times. But these stars weren't right. They formed patterns that made my eyes hurt to look at. Shapes that seemed to twist even though the stars weren't moving. I went inside, built up the fire, tried to read, couldn't concentrate. The silence outside was so complete it'd wait. It pressed against the cabin walls like something physical. That's when I heard my name. Thomas. Whispered, clear, from everywhere and nowhere. A voice I knew, Granny's voice. I stood up, dropped my book. Granny. Thomas. From outside now, from the woods, from the mountain itself. I opened the door. The forest was dark despite the impossibly bright stars. The trees were silhouettes against nothing. Who's there? Thomas. My mother's voice now. She'd been dead 20 years. Car accident when I was 25. Thomas, come here, come see. This wasn't real, couldn't be real. Grief hallucination. Altitude sickness despite being acclimated. Carbon monoxide from the fire. I was imagining this. But the voices continued. Mother, Granny, Granddad. My cousin Jenny who drowned when she was 12. All of them calling my name. All of them asking me to come outside, to come see, to understand. I slammed the door, threw the bolt, backed away. My watch said 9:16 p.m. Less than 3 hours until midnight. I could wait it out. Whatever this was, it would end at midnight. New year, new day, normal would return. The cabin started changing. The walls became translucent, not transparent, translucent, like frosted glass. I could see through them to other times, other moments. I saw my great-great-great-grandfather building the cabin in 1847. Saw him working alone, talking to himself. Or was he talking to himself? His lips moved. He was answering questions, but no one was there. I saw Granny as a young woman, 20 years old, in this same cabin. On New Year's Eve, she was crying, someone else was with her. A man I didn't recognize. They were arguing. He wanted to leave. She was stopping him. One of us has to do it, she said. One of us has to give the name. The scene shifted. The man walked outside. Granny stayed inside. Midnight struck. I could see the clock, an old wind-up that sat where my watch was now. The man in the forest screamed. I couldn't hear it, but I saw his face. Saw him reaching back toward the cabin, toward Granny. Then he was gone, just gone, erased, like he'd never existed. Granny sat alone, crying but alive. The translucent walls showed me more, generation after generation. Someone always at the cabin on New Year's Eve, always two people. Always one who walked outside at midnight, always one who stayed inside, always the one outside vanished, and always the one inside survived. It was a family tradition, but not the kind we talked about, the kind we kept secret. The kind we passed down with vague warnings and stern promises. The mountain wanted names, and we'd been giving them for 6 generations. No, I said it out loud. No, I'm not doing this. The voices outside intensified. Dozens of them now, hundreds. All the people who'd walked outside at midnight for the past 172 years. All the names the mountain had taken. All the ones who'd been erased. Thomas, they said it in unison. Thomas, come outside, come see, come understand. Thomas, Granny's voice again. I'm sorry, baby, I tried to warn you, tried to keep you away, but you came anyway. And the mountain knows, it knows you're here, it knows your name. The cabin walls dissolved completely. I could see the forest, could see the mountain, could see what it really was, not earth and stone and trees, those were just the surface. Underneath was something else, something vast, something that had been here since before the earth cooled, something that existed in dimensions I couldn't comprehend. And it was hungry, not for flesh or blood, for something deeper, for names, for identity, for the thing that made a person unique. When it took someone, they didn't just die, they were erased, like they'd never existed, every memory, every photograph, every record, all gone. The mountain consumed them completely, and in exchange it protected the family. The ones who stayed inside, the ones who made the sacrifice, it kept them safe, kept their farms productive, kept their children healthy. For 172 years, my family had prospered while our neighbors struggled, because we paid the price. We gave names to the thing beneath the mountain. I understood now why Granny was so specific, why she made everyone promise. She'd given a name herself when she was 20. The man I didn't recognize, her fiancé, probably, the one she never talked about, the one who didn't exist in any family records. She'd let him be erased so she could live, and she'd been haunted by it for 65 years. She didn't want me to face that choice, didn't want me to carry that guilt, but I'd come anyway, and there was no one else here, no one to walk outside at midnight, just me. My watch said 11:43 p.m., 17 minutes. If I walked outside at midnight, I'd be erased. If I stayed inside, the cabin would keep me safe, but I'd owe the mountain a name. Next year, or the year after. It would wait, it was patient. And eventually I'd have to bring someone, have to make the same choice Granny made, have to let someone be erased, unless I broke the cycle. I pulled out my phone, no signal, but I downloaded emergency GPS coordinates before the hike. I could navigate out. If I left now, if I ran, I could be off the mountain before midnight. The tradition required being at the cabin. If I wasn't there, maybe the mountain couldn't take me. But the voices outside grew louder, angrier. The mountain knew what I was thinking. It wouldn't let me leave. The forest between the cabin and the trail would shift. Change, I'd walk in circles forever. I'd still be on the mountain at midnight. I was trapped. By geography, by family tradition. By something ancient and hungry that lived beneath the earth. 11:51 p.m. I sat by the fire, thought about Granny, about all the people who'd stood where I stood, who'd faced this choice, stay inside and live, walk outside and be erased. But they'd always come in pairs, 2 people, one to sacrifice, one to survive. I was alone. Did the mountain know that? Did it care? 11:56 p.m. The voices outside reached a crescendo, all of them calling my name, all of them begging me to join them, to walk outside, to understand. They said it wouldn't hurt, said it was peaceful, said I'd become part of something eternal, something vast, something that predated humanity and would exist long after the last human died. 11:59 p.m. I stood, walked to the door. I was going to do it, going to walk outside. Going to let the mountain have my name, not for the family, not for tradition, but because the alternative was worse. If I stayed inside, I'd survive, but I'd become like Granny, haunted, guilty, and eventually I'd bring someone else here, trick them, sacrifice them. I'd perpetuate the cycle. Better to end it. Better to be the last one. Let the tradition die with me. My hand touched the door handle. The voices fell silent, expectant, eager. Then I heard a different voice. Real, human, behind me. "Step away from the door, Thomas." I spun. A woman stood in the cabin, middle-aged, wearing hiking gear, carrying a heavy backpack. I hadn't heard her come in, hadn't heard anything. "Who are you?" "Park Ranger, Sarah Akoni. We've been tracking the disappearances. Took us years to find the pattern. Always this cabin. Always New Year's Eve. Always one missing person and one survivor who doesn't remember the missing person ever existed." My mind reeled. "You know about this." "Now we do, and we're shutting it down." She pulled something from her pack, a large battery-powered device. Complex. Government tissue. Electromagnetic field disruptor. We don't understand what this place is, but we know it operates on frequencies we can block. She activated the device. A high-pitched whine filled the cabin. The translucent walls solidified. The voices outside cut off mid-word. The impossible stars through the window snapped back to normal constellations. My watch struck midnight. Nothing happened. No erasure, no hunger, no voices, just silence. "It's over," Sarah said. "The cabin's quarantined now. No one else will die here." But I could still feel it, under my feet. The thing beneath the mountain, angry, waiting, patient. The device had blocked it, but it wasn't gone, and it remembered my name. It would always remember my name.